When we imagine the horrors of Nazi Germany, most envision a cold, calculated regime powered by ideology and hatred. But beneath the surface of SS brutality lay another dark truth. Many of these men were chemically altered, their minds sharpened and twisted by methamphetamines. Known as Pervitin, this stimulant turned soldiers into tireless machines, stripping them of empathy, fear, and moral restraint. This isn't just a tale of evil, it's one of pharmacological warfare, where science was weaponized to amplify cruelty. SS officers, entrusted with the most heinous crimes of the Nazi regime, were among the most frequent users of meth. Fueled by drugs and fanaticism, they committed atrocities that remain among the most disturbing in human history. In this expose, we dig into how meth transformed men into monsters, and why this chapter of World War II is still not fully understood. In the late 1930s, German pharmaceutical company Temmler developed a stimulant called Pervitin, a methamphetamine pill marketed to civilians as a remedy for fatigue, depression, and lack of focus. But it didn't stay in medicine cabinets for long. The Nazi military machine quickly saw its potential. As Hitler prepared for rapid invasion strategies like blitzkrieg, keeping soldiers alert and energized became a tactical priority. Pervitin was the perfect solution. During the 1940 invasion of France, over 35 million tablets were distributed to troops. Soldiers could march for days without rest, stay awake through endless combat, and perform with eerie mechanical focus. Letters from the front lines reveal soldiers praising the drug's effects. No fear, no hunger, no sleep. Just a relentless drive to obey. What started as a strategic advantage soon turned into dependency and abuse, with medics noting severe withdrawal symptoms and mental breakdowns. This militarization of meth was not limited to the battlefield. Higher SS ranks saw its potential as well, not just for combat efficiency, but for psychological control and dehumanization. Pervitin became the fuel of the Nazi war engine, chemical obedience in pill form. While the Wehrmacht used Pervitin for battlefield endurance, the SS, Hitler's elite paramilitary force, took its use to a darker level. Known for their loyalty, brutality, and ideological purity, SS officers were handpicked to enforce Nazi terror. Meth wasn't just a performance enhancer for them, it became a tool of transformation. Many SS units received Pervitin not for combat, but to suppress fear, heighten aggression, and desensitize themselves to violence. Unlike regular soldiers, SS roles often included executions, interrogations, and overseeing concentration camps, acts that required not just obedience, but the erasure of empathy. Officers reportedly took the drug before mass shootings or punitive raids. Victims' testimonies described their persecutors as eerily emotionless, almost robotic in their cruelty. Meth created what the Nazi regime idealized, a cold, tireless Übermensch, willing to do anything in the name of ideology. Doctors and commanders knew the effects. They encouraged meth use not only to sustain energy, but to break moral limits. In this way, Pervitin wasn't just a pill. It was a weapon of psychological warfare, turning men into executioners devoid of conscience. In the SS, meth blurred the line between human and monster, and the line was crossed willingly. As the war dragged on and desperation mounted, the Nazi regime sought even more potent chemical tools to fuel their forces. This pursuit gave birth to Die Noyag, a nightmarish drug cocktail developed by Nazi scientists, combining methamphetamine, cocaine, and oxycodone. It was intended to create the ultimate soldier, fearless, pain-free, and endlessly aggressive. Testing this new compound wasn't conducted in labs. It was inflicted on human subjects at Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Prisoners were forced to march in circles with heavy loads until collapse, all while being dosed with D9. The goal? Measure how long the drug could override physical and mental limits. These experiments were nothing short of torture. Survivors, if any, were left with shredded nervous systems. Those who didn't survive were discarded as data points in a perverse scientific trial. The SS oversaw this program, knowing full well the cost in human lives. D9 was never mass-produced. The war ended before full deployment. But its development exposed a terrifying mindset that drugs could not only assist war, but replace morality itself. By chemically reprogramming soldiers to feel nothing, the SS attempted to manufacture a new kind of killer, one not bound by conscience or fatigue. The experiments at Sachsenhausen stand as some of the most depraved medical atrocities of the 20th century, driven by the twisted union of science, ideology, and methamphetamine. Methamphetamine didn't just keep SS officers awake, it fundamentally altered their behavior. As Pervitin use became common, especially during large-scale atrocities, its psychological effects took a chilling toll. The drug diminished fear, blunted empathy, and amplified aggression, key traits for those tasked with carrying out genocide. SS guards in concentration camps, for example, were known to commit horrific acts with mechanical precision, showing no emotion or remorse. Meth use helped them suppress the natural human aversion to killing. Some reports suggest they even took it before participating in mass executions, allowing them to maintain a professional calm during the slaughter. On the Eastern Front, where the war descended into chaos and cruelty, SS units committed some of the worst atrocities of the conflict. Villages were burned, civilians massacred, and prisoners tortured, all acts facilitated by men operating under a meth-induced emotional blackout. The drug dulled hesitation and empowered cruelty. Meth also contributed to erratic behavior. Paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions of grandeur plagued chronic users. Commanders noted increasing instability among SS officers who couldn't function without Pervitin. Some became addicted and spiraled into psychotic breakdowns, even turning violent toward their own comrades. This wasn't simply enhanced aggression. It was the systematic destruction of moral restraint, chemically enforced. In the SS, meth helped erase the last threads of humanity from those already walking a dark path. The drug epidemic within the Nazi regime wasn't limited to frontline troops. It reached the very top. Adolf Hitler himself was a heavy user of Pervitin, administered regularly by his personal physician, Dr. Theodor Morell. Alongside meth, Hitler received a cocktail of over 70 different substances, including opioids, hormones, and sedatives. As the war intensified and defeat loomed, Hitler's reliance on drugs increased. Witnesses described his erratic behavior, trembling hands, sudden rages, and wild optimism in the face of collapse. His decisions, such as refusing strategic retreats, grew more detached from reality, possibly influenced by his chemical intake. But the more disturbing consequence was how Hitler's drug-fueled mindset may have influenced SS directives. As his paranoia deepened, he became more obsessed with punishment, retribution, and holding the line at all costs. Orders for mass executions, brutal reprisals, and death marches came during these later drug-soaked months. The SS, bound by loyalty and ideology, followed these commands with unwavering zeal. Fueled by their own meth use, they mirrored the mental decay of their leader. Hitler's personal descent into addiction wasn't just a private matter. It became a blueprint for the SS's final, most ruthless phase of terror. By the war's end, the SS was no longer an elite force. It had become a monstrous apparatus, driven by ideology, addiction, and blind obedience. Methamphetamine had played a devastating role in this transformation. It dulled the moral instincts of its users, allowing them to commit unspeakable acts with terrifying ease. During the death marches of 1945, when tens of thousands of concentration camp prisoners were forced to walk in brutal conditions, SS guards, many doped on meth, showed no mercy. They executed anyone who fell behind, often with detached efficiency. These final months were marked by escalating cruelty as drug-desperate officers clung to their roles amid chaos. After the war, many former SS members suffered the long-term effects of Pervitin abuse. Some were addicted, others mentally broken. Withdrawal brought hallucinations, violent mood swings, and in some cases, suicide. The Third Reich had weaponized drugs to manufacture loyalty and ruthlessness, only to discard these men once they'd served their purpose. The ethical collapse wasn't accidental. It was engineered, with chemistry, propaganda, and fear, by a regime that saw human life as expendable. The legacy of the SS on meth is not just one of violence, but of how science was used to obliterate the soul. The descent of the SS into unimaginable brutality wasn't fueled by ideology alone. It was chemically accelerated. Methamphetamines like Pervitin didn't just keep men awake. They stripped away their humanity, turning soldiers into instruments of terror who could murder without hesitation or remorse. These drugs became the silent accomplice to genocide, altering minds, erasing empathy, and reinforcing a regime that demanded absolute obedience and cruelty. In the hands of the SS, meth wasn't just a stimulant. It was a psychological weapon, fine-tuned to destroy moral resistance. The terrifying legacy of Nazi meth use forces us to ask, what happens when science, instead of healing, is weaponized to enhance inhumanity? How far can chemistry push a person beyond conscience? And how easily could it happen again? History often warns us with its horrors. The question now is, are we listening?